Yes, good evening everyone.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, am I audible and visible clearly?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
sir.
Sir, please off the sharing of the screen.
Okay, there is some kind of lag. Screen sharing off कर दो. Okay? Okay, now it is fine, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I hope that you all attempted the question paper, 20 questions. First of all, I would like to know whether the questions were relevant to your preparation, first of all. Whether the questions were relevant to our examination. And also, what kind of difficulties you faced in solving these MCQs. Okay, we will not go into discussing all these MCQs one by one. Rather, this is interactive session. Okay, so we will focus more on resolving your doubts. Okay, so you can ask questions one by one. Okay, I will also talk in the end how to approach to certain questions. Okay, so how to use your knowledge here, how to use the elimination method, logic, all these things we have to understand. Okay, but before I would like to let's say address your concerns regarding these questions. Yes.
Sir, can you please explain the last question which was regarding that GMT and international date line?
Okay. Yes. ठीक है. Australian Open was going on. Tennis matches. Nadal has won. Okay, so we tried to include that nomenclature here just for understanding. But yes, the question is related to finding out the exact timing in different time zones. Okay, and we all learn about this, that Earth is divided into 360 longitudes. Okay, and this 360, so you can see that 0 degree longitude, we call it as one which passes through Greenwich place near London, UK. Okay, where the laboratory is there, and there we consider as the reference time for calculating all the times of different time zones. Okay, so from this 0 degree, the east of this 0 degree up to 180, we calculate this as eastern longitudes, and then west of it 180 degree as west, and the one which passes through 180 degree we call it as a international date line. Okay, now the question, let's understand what is given here. Australian Open tennis match between Rafael Nadal and Novak Djokovic, which was expected, but Djokovic, आपको पता है कि वो वैक्सीन नहीं लिया था तो बाहर हो गए, right? So yes, is scheduled to start at Sydney, situated at 150 degree east. Okay, so it is situated 150 degree east. East of what? Greenwich. When we say 150 degree east, that means east of Greenwich. Then on 31st January at 2:30 p.m. 31st January 2:30 p.m. Okay. Now from this, first of all, what we will do, we'll understand whether the other place which is asked, whether it is east or west of Greenwich. Okay, from that we will easily understand at what time it will be seen live in Philadelphia in US, situated at 75 degree west. So that means it is west of Greenwich. So there will be some kind of addition here of time. So what we will do, first of all, this 150 degree east. So how to calculate this? When we are dividing this 360 degree longitudes, Earth into 360 degree. So what we can do? 360 degree divided by 24 hours. Divided by 24 hours. So what is this? Yes? 15 degrees? ठीक है, नहीं समझ रहा है, 6 से डिवाइड कर लो. ठीक है, so that means 15 degrees When we shift to the 15 degrees, that means we are crossing 1 hour. Right? Now we should understand that the east of Greenwich, those places which are east of Greenwich, they are ahead of Greenwich. And those places which are west of Greenwich, they are behind of Greenwich. We are talking about timeline. ठीक है? So from this we can understand 150 degree east, that means it is ahead of Greenwich. 150 degree divided by 15 degree per hour we have to calculate.
10 hours.
So how much it is? 10 hours. So that is, it is 10 hours ahead of Greenwich. So let's find out what is the time at Greenwich now. If it is 2:30 in Sydney, then what is the time at Greenwich? You tell me. 2:30 is ahead. So we have to go back 10 hours. Go back 10 hours.
4:30 a.m.
Very good.
4:30 a.m.
4:30 a.m. So can I mention that Greenwich mean time at that time? We can say 4:30. Please switch off your speakers. ठीक है? 4:30. Yes. So 4:30 a.m. is Greenwich time at that particular time. Now we have to again shift to the west because Greenwich is ahead of Philadelphia. So Philadelphia 75 degree west, that means 75 degree upon 15, that is 5 hours. That is 5 hours. Greenwich is 5 hours ahead of Philadelphia. So if 4:30 a.m. is time at Greenwich, again move back 5 hours. What is that time?
11:30 p.m. 11:30 p.m.
11:30 p.m. But whether it is same day or previous day or next day,
Previous day, 30 January.
30.
we are moving back, right? So we have understood it is 11:30 p.m. but we have moved back. That is, we are lagging in time here. So we have moved to the earlier day now. So in Philadelphia at that time, to watch that live match, we are watching that match in the earlier day itself at 11:30 p.m. Okay, so here in Philadelphia it will be, what is that? 31st is there, no? So here 30th January will be there. Timing. Have you understood this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Everyone?
Tell me that GMT 4:30 I am not getting.
See, this 4:30, no? What we have done, 2:30 p.m. was timing. So move 10 hours back. So how we are moving 10 hours back from 2:30 p.m.? It is p.m. no?
Yes.
So 12 hours पीछे आ जाइए. What happens there?
Okay.
2:30 a.m. But 10 hours we have to. So 4:30 a.m.
Okay, sir. 14 and half में 10 minus करें तो
10 minus, because this Sydney is ahead of time. So we are doing minus. So everyone should understand this. Those places east of GMT or Greenwich simply, they are ahead of that Greenwich time. Okay. So the question can be a different manner, that there is US Open going on and the timing is asked in Australia. There can be question like this. Okay. So there will be reverse kind of calculation there. Okay. So simply we should understand and able to calculate this. Also those who do not understand this international date line is not straight line, you should understand why it is not straight line, because many islands are located in that line. Okay, and this is very difficult for those islands to have two different time zones, no? So that's why it is passing completely through ocean, and that's why it is not straight line. Other longitudes are completely straight lines. Okay. Yes, and many students get confused कि वो day addition होता है या loss होता है, right? So we'll have a remember one trick here. Okay, so we'll remember that EWG and WEL like this. EWG and WEL. So what is that? When we are moving from east to west, we are gaining 1 day. When we are moving from west to east, we are losing 1 day across international date line. Okay, so east to west, when we are moving westward, so we are gaining 1 day. And when we are moving eastward, we are losing 1 day when we are crossing this international date. Understood?
Yes, sir.
ठीक है, वो NCERT में नहीं दिया है, but yes, it is given in that GC Leong book, first chapter. Okay, so it is important. Earlier UPSC asked such kind of question. Nowadays it is not asking, but it can ask, no? UPSC can ask such questions.
Sir, east to west, we are gaining 1 day.
Yes, east to west we gain 1 day.
But sir, in this question only we lost 1 day.
No, when we are crossing this international date line, we did not cross international date line in this question. Are you understanding this?
Okay, yes, yes.
हाँ, yes. ठीक है? Any other question? Other questions? Any doubt in other questions? कुछ question का concept नहीं समझ में आया है? Yes.
Sir, there is a question related to finding out the metamorphic rocks. So, finding out the metamorphic rocks like that slate, schist, and
Yes.
so that question. Sir,
Yes.
is it like we have to remember all these things, or like any or other logic we have to have? Because in GS-Prelims there are so many type of thing.
Rocks.
From huge
Yes.
to metamorphic and sedimentary to metamorphic, and that also in metamorphic there are 2 types: chemically metamorphosed and thermally metamorphosed. So how to remember, or to simply we have to memorize it?
No, those rocks examples given in NCERT, that is sufficient. 11th standard NCERT. We ask question from NCERT only. Okay. So remember those names which are given in NCERT. That rocks chapter is there, no? 11th standard NCERT, rocks and minerals. So that is sufficient. Also many times shell rock, or we know that the sedimentary rocks like sandstone, and they are in news also, ना? तो वो थोड़ा एलिमिनेशन मेथड यूज करना चाहिए था यहाँ पे. ठीक है, हो सकता है ना एलिमिनेशन मेथड?
हाँ सर, elimination method use करके ही that question I solved, but
Yes.
my question is like we have to remember. I mean, there is no logic. We know that if sandstone is metamorphosed, it becomes marble. So sandstone is obviously not metamorphosed rock. That is understood. But the thing is, we have to remember only, you know.
Yes, sure. Some rocks you remember. Okay, some examples, and then you use elimination method. ठीक है, it is difficult to remember all names. Some technical words are there. ठीक है, अलग अलग rocks के कुछ अलग ही नाम्स है. ठीक है, तो वो बहुत मुश्किल है रिमेंबर करना. NCERT में जो दिया है वो रिमेंबर करिए. Yes, what student is asking, sir, you said we have not crossed Greenwich in case of 75 degree. Can you please explain that concept again? No, we have crossed Greenwich. I was saying we have not crossed international date line. Okay, international date line is 180 degree. Greenwich is 0 degree. Okay, so when we are crossing Greenwich, we are not changing the day. Okay, we are not gaining or losing the day. We are in the same day. Try to understand this. And that's why simply you remember this concept, that those places which are east of Greenwich, they are ahead. एक simple आप logic use करिए ना. There is 5:30 we can say hours. Okay, 5.5 hours difference between Greenwich time and Indian Standard Time. Okay, so suppose there is 5:30 p.m. in India. Suppose there is 5:30 p.m. in India. Then what is time at Greenwich?
0, sir.
12 a.m. or p.m.?
12 p.m. sir.
0 hours, sir.
0 hours.
0 hours, 12 p.m.
0 hours. Yes, everyone?
So PM.
Yes.
So 12 p.m.
ठीक है, तो नून है वहाँ पे. तो वहाँ पे सन ओवरहेड होगा तो इंडिया आगे चला गया है ना, ऐसा सोचिए ना, थोड़ा सा इमेजिन करिए. सो इंडिया, देयर इज सनसेट एंड नाउ ग्रीनविच इज ओवरहेड. दैट्स व्हाई इंडिया इज अहेड, ऑस्ट्रेलिया इज फर्दर अहेड. ठीक है, तो ट्राई टू इमेजिन दिस इन योर माइंड. अर्थ इज मूविंग फ्रॉम ईस्ट टू वेस्ट. अर्थ इज मूविंग फ्रॉम ईस्ट टू वेस्ट और वेस्ट टू ईस्ट.
East to west.
Huh?
West to east.
West to east. Yes, earth is moving from west to east like this and sun is here. तो ठीक है, ऐसे हो रहा है, मूव हो रहा है. तो obviously those places which are moving ahead, so they will be eastern places, no? ठीक है, जापान जहाँ पे सन राइज होता है, the land where sun rise first on that day, ऐसा बोलते हैं. So of course those places are ahead. ठीक है, तो यहाँ पे कंफ्यूजन नहीं होना है. दो चीजें याद रखेंगे, ईस्ट ऑफ ग्रीनविच अहेड, वेस्ट ऑफ ग्रीनविच दे आर लैगिंग. एंड दिस वन इंटरनेशनल डेट लाइन, लूजिंग डे और गेनिंग डे, उससे आपका क्वेश्चन इजीली सॉल्व हो जाएगा. यस, अबाउट अदर क्वेश्चन.
The concept of hotspot volcanism, if you can please explain.
Yes, sure. I was expecting the question that you would ask about that. Yes, hotspot volcanism. See, UPSC asked once question in mains examination about mantle plumes, if you remember that. ठीक है, कुछ mantle plumes. So that's why we are expecting कि hotspot related question जरूर prelims में भी आ सकता है, right? So UPSC has tendency to ask questions from those topics which are asked in mains examination. Next time they will ask in prelims. Questions asked in prelims, those topics they will ask in mains. You should understand that. Okay. So mantle plumes, this concept first of all I will explain, and then I will explain the hotspot volcanoes. Okay. So simply I will draw this like, suppose this is core. Okay, this is crust, this is mantle. Okay, now do not get confused here. We all know about convection current and they are flowing in the upper mantle or asthenosphere. Okay, so let me show that in the red color, that these are convection current. ठीक है, सॉरी, इसको ऐसे दिखाते हैं. Okay, so the molten magma is continuously moving according to spreading hypothesis. We have seen that how this force is responsible for movement of the plates. Even plate tectonic theory suggests that this is the force responsible. Now we know that whatever the volcanic activity is happening, that is happening along the plate margins. That is happening along the plate margins. But many times we see the volcanism or volcanic activity is happening within the plate. The best example is Hawaiian volcanoes are there, right? So they, or some of the hotspots are there, like Iceland is there, or the Reunion hotspot. We are going to talk about it. So they are actually because of mantle plumes. Now mantle plumes, as against this, they actually originate from this mantle core border. Mantle core border. Okay, so along this boundary there is huge, we can say, radioactive decay, and the residual heat is concentrating at that particular point, and it is rising from that location to in the upward direction. So that means it is not moving in a cyclic manner. It is simply located at one place, and you can see that these lithospheric plates are moving above it, because plates are continuously in motion, plate tectonic theory. Now what happened with Indian plate? Flood basalt province, Deccan traps, how they are formed? We know that we learn in continental drift theory, there was Pangaea, it was broken into Gondwana land, Laurasia. So our Indian plate, peninsular block, was part of Gondwana land. Then it broke from Gondwana land and it started moving towards Eurasian plate. During that time, it passed through this reunion hotspot for a brief time period. Okay, तो जो Indian plate है, ठीक है, Indian peninsula, it came under the influence of this reunion hotspot, and there was extensive volcanic eruption over here, and this was basaltic flood basalt province that was created. Highly fluid lava, basaltic lava, or we can say basic lava, highly fluid. It started flowing one layer after other, and that created Deccan traps. Now this plate further moved on and that lava got solidified. That created Deccan traps. ठीक है? And reunion hotspot remains at the same place. There are many such hotspots around the globe. Okay, so Iceland is there. Hawaiian let's say hotspot is very famous, and that is within the Pacific plate, located within at the center itself at the Pacific plate. You can see the map that we have provided in the explanation. Various hotspots are mentioned there, right? And the Hawaiian hotspot is very famous because new volcanic islands are formed and they move onwards. The plate is shifting and again the new volcanic island is formed. Again plate is shifting onwards, new volcanic island is formed. Okay, and once the volcanic island is formed, exogenic forces, withering, erosion, they start acting and their height starts decreasing. Some of them also get submerged, oceanic islands. This is what we observe during the hotspot volcano. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
थोड़ा सा जो है हमारे बुक्स के बाहर है. Okay, so it is not explained in our books, but of course UPSC asked mantle plumes at that time and it was outside our books. ठीक है, so that's why we need to have knowledge one step ahead of our books also. थोड़ा सा, ठीक है, हमेशा नहीं, 1% we can say. That's why one question like this. Yes, any other question from our 20 MCQs?
Yes, sir. I have a question. Sir, I just need about this plate tectonics. Sir, one question was there regarding Philippines. So
Yes.
actually the thing is, if apart like there is whether oceanic convergence or other continent, but sir, whenever this places are, I mean like plates are particular name is concerned, that it's Eurasian or American, South America or other one. So at that time I feel always, it's not the first time regarding this question, before that I always feel problem like whenever there is a particular name is given, like Philippines or other, like what kind of convergence or divergence is there, and in fact there is this diagram in this NCRT as well,
Yes.
where of major and minor plates, and
Yes.
in fact still I'm not able to collect like information regarding this South American plate. Somehow it seems it's act as an continental plate and sometimes oceanic plate. So can you please
Yes.
elaborate it? I'm not able to.
See, you should be clear that lithospheric plates are lithospheric slabs. When we say lithosphere, it is crust plus upper mantle, that is together lithosphere. Okay, and this lithosphere is freely floating over asthenosphere, which is fluid, and that's why there is movement of this lithospheric plate. Now these lithospheric plates, all of them are not completely oceanic or completely continental. Rather, majority of them are having both. That is continental part as well as oceanic crust part. like for example South American, African plate, or Indo-Australian plate, right? So they are not completely oceanic plates or completely continental plates. Rather, some part is continental, some part is oceanic. But yes, one major plate, that is Pacific plate, that is completely oceanic plate. Okay, now we learn about this plate, that oceanic plates having the oceanic crust that is much denser as compared to continental crust, and when they are meeting with each other, convergent boundary, so more denser plate is going down compared to lighter one, right? So that's why Pacific plate, whenever it is having any kind of convergent movement with the surrounding boundary, largely it submerges. Pacific plate itself being denser, it submerges under other plates. Okay, now talking about the other plates which are partially continental, partially we can say marine also, or oceanic plates. So according to the nature of these plates, or we can say density of the oceanic crust, okay, it depends. Like for example, if we are talking Eurasian plate, largely it is completely continental plate. Eurasian plate is one such plate which is completely continental. So it will be lighter as compared to Indo-Australian plate, which is partially or majoritarily we can say oceanic plate, right? So it submerged under Eurasian plate while there is formation of Himalayas. Okay, so convergence is happening. Now the concern here is talking about ocean-ocean convergence. This for formation of island arcs, Philippines, Japan, or even we can say the Caribbean islands here. So ocean-ocean convergence there, which particular oceanic plate is much denser compared to other oceanic plate, so that submerges. You need not to remember which is submerging. Here for prelims examination I am telling. Okay, for mains examination, if suppose the question is talking about explain the formation of island arcs and festoons in Pacific Ocean, suppose such kind of question is asked, then you need specific information. But for prelims you need not to remember that. Remember only major plates. Okay, among those major plates, only one is completely continental, one is completely oceanic. Other are both. ठीक है, इतना याद रख सकते हैं. You can remember this. Okay.
Yes, sir. So, actually, can you please explain me about this South American plate? Like, if it's, I have read it when the western margin of the South American plate is concerned, that's eastern side has continental crust. On the western side, it acts as an oceanic crust, and that I was confused. Like how it's
no. South American, see, South American plate, rather the western part of South American plate is continental. Eastern is rather not continental, it is oceanic. Okay, that's why the formation of Andes happened, no? Andes mountain ranges are formed because of convergence between Pacific plate, that is oceanic plate, and the continental part of this South American plate. Try to understand this. Okay, so you should remember whenever there is formation of mountains is happening, there is convergence happening. Okay, so there the oceanic and continental convergence. Same is the case with North American plate. There the Rockies mountains are being formed. Okay, is this clear now?
Okay, sir, sure, sir. Thank you.
Yes. Other questions? You need not to hesitate asking very simple question also. ठीक है, will not judge you. ठीक है, टीचर कभी स्टूडेंट को जज नहीं करते हैं. Simply you should understand this. Our main motive is to help you prepare for this examination. Don't worry about that. Yes. नहीं, ऑफलाइन नहीं है अभी तक. ठीक है, सो just 1 or 2 students, they are actually part of content team here, so LUKMAAN IAS, so you are not allowed ऑफलाइन अप टिल नाउ, ठीक है. नए गाइडलाइंस आएंगे, सो यू विल बी कन्वेड अबाउट दैट इफ न्यू गाइडलाइंस आर देयर.
Sir,
Yes.
so my question is regarding landform. So there are so many terms like sinkhole and collapsing. So there are so many terms, and they are having different structure. So is it necessary to learn them to remember the structure and what are their functions and all that thing? It is very difficult for me for this particular chapter. You can please tell.
Rather, we will say that it is the most difficult chapter for prelims examination because completely all things are factual. Okay, factual information, and we have to remember that. And when we used to prepare for this examination, the most number of revisions were given to this chapter, landforms and their development or evolution, 11th standard NCERT. Okay, so yes, you have to give more and more revisions. What you can do is you can make small note out of it, 1-page note. How we can do? You take each and every agent of erosion, like first of all river, and in that river you make 2 columns, erosional landform, depositional landform. Immediately below that, glacier, erosional landform, depositional landform. Last minute revision. Okay, so last minute revision, you will be remembering this. Oh, it is erosional landform, it is depositional landform. The question will be like this only, whether it is erosional or depositional, whether it is formed during the youthful stage or mature stage. Such kind of questions will be asked from landforms. Okay, so yes, this can be the note making exercise for you.
Sir, folded mountains and block mountains and volcanic mountains. I understand the folded mountain means convergent to principal equilibrium.
Yes.
So, block mountain.
Question number
11, sir.
Question number 11. Okay, so consider the following mountain ranges. Which of the above mountains are fold mountains? See, let me briefly tell you. अगर confuse हो रहा है तो ठीक है. So, whenever there is compressive forces generally when we observe that when there is convergence of these plates is happening, largely at that time only we observe that fold mountains are being formed, है ना. तो कैसे होता है? compressive force होता है तो fold होता है. Simply I explained this in class also, foundation batch, if you remember. So suppose this is plate. Okay, so if this plate is facing some kind of compressional forces, that is towards each other, there will be folding like this. You can see this, everyone, right? And suppose there is tensional force, that is these 2 parts are moving apart from each other, that is tensile force. So what will happen? Some part at the center will go down and that will create fault. Okay, that will create fault and that will result into formation of horse and grabens. Horse and grabens, example of block mountain. Example of block mountain. So you see the examples given in that and eliminate now. Okay, so Rockies mountains are there, Himalayas, Alps. Rockies are located along the convergent boundary. Alps and Himalayas again the convergent boundary, right? So convergence, so of course they are fold mountains. They are fold mountains. So remaining basically Vosges mountains and Rhine Valley, the most famous example of block mountains, north of Alps. ठीक है, 6th और 7th standard NCERT में ये बताया है, right? Horse and grabens, Rhine Valley and Vosges mountains. And in India also, Vindhyas. Anyone knowing about how Vindhyas are formed? NCERT में एक statement में कहीं तो भी बताया है शायद, 11th standard physical. See, I will explain that. Suppose this is Eurasian plate and suppose this is Indian peninsular plate is moving like this and it is slowly now subducting like this. And when it is subducting, you can see that this plate part is facing some kind of tension. There will be some cracks. Whenever there is cracks like this, you can see this is straight plate and when it is moving like this downward, this part is facing some tension. ओके जैसे ये प्लेट को तोड़ रहे हैं हम, ऐसा वो प्लेट को फील हो रहा है, वो तोड़ रहे हैं, राइट, वी आर ब्रेकिंग दैट प्लेट, एंड बिकॉज ऑफ दैट व्हाट हैपेंस इज द विंध्यन माउंटेन्स रिमेन्ड अप while there is some kind of part created, and we can say the downward movement that was later filled by the Narmada river. Okay, the valley that is created now, that later on that is filled by the Narmada river. This is how formation of Vindhyas happened. Okay, so that's why we will say they are block mountains. ठीक है. Now many students will say that पढ़ा होगा कहीं पे Aravalis are also fold mountains. Are you aware about that? Aravalis are also fold mountains. They will be called as residual mountains. They will be called as ancient fold mountains और सबसे पुराने. ठीक है, जैसे Appalachians है North America, or we can say Ural mountains. They are also example of ancient fold mountains. Now how they are at present in between plate, है ना, वो तो प्लेट के बीच में आके बैठे हैं.
Convergence, heavy pressure.
When we say ancient, that is before plate tectonic itself. See, plate tectonic explains the movement of plates after, we can say, हम कितना बोल सकते हैं कि what is that, 700 million years ago. ठीक है. So after that there was Pangea formation, Pangea 1 formation, then it broke away again 200 million years ago or 250 million years ago. That Pangea came together and formed Pangea 2, and then again it broke before 200 million years ago. Gondwana land, Laurasia and Gondwana land formed. So before 700 million years ago, what happened? We do not know yet. Okay, we do not know yet how these continents were formed in first place itself. Okay, and their movement also. And that's why we consider these ancient mountains as, we can say, residual mountains, because all of these mountains are severely eroded now. Why we call them, we can say, residual? Because they are severely eroded mountains. That's why we call them as residual mountains. Okay? Yes, any other question?
So there is question related to polarity. I think seafloor spreading.
Yes.
If you can please
Question
explain
number?
that. So I don't remember the question number actually.
Seafloor spreading.
So it was related to polarity, I think.
Yes, yes. Which of the following evidence was not in support of seafloor spreading hypothesis? And yes, alternate magnetic polarity of the rocks. Yes, similar age of rocks, equidistance from. Yes, so when the seafloor spread hypothesis was given by Professor Hess, so before that there was ocean floor mapping expedition happened, and also paleomagnetic studies were done. Now paleomagnetic studies means basically the ocean floor rocks, their polarity, magnetic properties, their age was we can say studied, and after that study it was found that whenever these rocks are formed from mid-oceanic region at certain distance, up to certain distance, all rocks have similar polarity. Beyond that certain distance, up to certain distance, there is reverse polarity. So there is alternate bands of polarity of these rocks are formed. Let me explain that to you, how it is formed. Okay, so suppose this is mid-oceanic region. Okay, mid-oceanic ridge. Now what happens here? There is divergent movement of plates. There is new oceanic crust is continuously being formed, and that is moved aside on both sides, right? Now what happens here is that when the new rock is being formed and it is or new crust is being formed, those rocks earlier they are liquid lava and they are getting solidified. When they are solidified, the magnetic material within those rocks gets aligned to existing Earth's magnetic field. They get aligned to existing at that time. What is Earth's magnetic field? Okay, वो north and south pole, magnetic poles. तो उनके साथ में वो अलाइन हो जाते हैं और वैसे ही रह जाते हैं because now they are solidified. From this we understood that यहाँ तक जो है समझो जो भी रॉक्स है इनका एक पॉजिटिव पोलैरिटी है, यहाँ तक के जो रॉक्स है ये सारे इनका नेगेटिव पोलैरिटी है. What is positive negative polarity? Simply you should remember that the north and south magnetic poles of the earth, they have been continuously reversing in the geological history of the earth. Okay, so let's say 40,000 50,000 years ago, the present magnetic polarity, north pole and south pole, was not at the same place, rather it was reversed. जो आज का साउथ पोल है वो पिछले बार नॉर्थ पोल था अर्थ पे, ठीक है. एंड व्हेन इट इज रिवर्सिंग, ऑफ कोर्स द अलाइनमेंट ऑफ दिस रॉक्स आल्सो चेंजेस व्हेन दिस रॉक्स आर फॉर्म एट दैट टाइम. ओके, फ्रॉम दिस वी अंडरस्टूड दैट these rocks are formed at particular time period of the earth and they are getting solidified. They are moving away from this mid-oceanic ridge and they are ultimately consumed in the trench region. ठीक है, this help to propose the sea floor spreading. ठीक है, now you understood this alternate magnetic.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
हाँ, explain.
Sir, just a reminder. Sir, I have asked that April, May and June current affair PDFs of LUKMAAN IAS. You have told that it will be uploaded, sir. But still, I have checked it is not being uploaded. So please.
Yes. I will talk to management. We had conveyed this, I guess, yesterday. He was saying that. I will again remind them. Okay.
Sir, it was on the 7th day the test is there. So if I could not read, how will I be able to mark the questions correctly? So
Yes.
that's why I am emphasizing it.
Yes, sure. Yes, I will convey your message. Okay. Yes, one of the student is saying, please explain sea floor spreading. Okay, so this means that you have not understood that theory. Okay, briefly I will explain from the diagram itself. Okay. Yes, so this is continental plate. Okay, and this is oceanic plate and this is mid-oceanic ridge. Okay, so let's understand how this sea floor spreading is happening. So convection currents are there in the mantle portion, upper mantle portion of the Earth's interior. How these convection currents are formed? Convection currents are formed because of thermal differences inside the mantle. How these thermal differences are created? Because of internal heat. From where internal heat is coming? Two sources. One, radioactive decay, major source. Other source is residual heat. Residual heat means what? जब अर्थ तैयार हुआ था ना, तब से वो अंदर में गर्म ही है अभी भी. It is still hot inside. When the earth was formed, it is cooling from outside to inside. No, so interior is still hot. That is residual heat. Okay, so this together is actually heating the rocks inside the mantle part. And when they are heated, of course, they are converted into fluid part. And fluid means it is flowing. Now it is flowing in certain direction and creating a cycle. When it is moving in a cyclic manner, all the lithospheric slabs above that cycle, they are also moving in that direction. Simply consider that all lithospheric plates are floating on this liquid or fluid magma. And suppose this is plate. Suppose below that the cycle is moving like this. This plate will move like this on this side. है ना? So this oceanic plate is deliberately moved in this manner from this center. Okay. So what happened basically when the Pangea was broken into different parts? South American plate was separating from African plate. I am giving just one example. And when it was separating means basically the sea floor was spreading. That's why it was separating. Okay, so the Atlantic Ocean is basically formed because of sea floor spreading. The internal movement of this magma was like this, and that's why it is spreading. African plate, South American plate. Atlantic Ocean is formed. Okay, but the Hess also understood that the new crust is being formed. That means over the period of time there will be only oceans, or simply this spreading will be happening. So that means the older crust must be consumed somewhere. Otherwise it must be expanding at very faster rate, but this is not observed. Only 5 centimeter, 6 centimeter per year, that we can say the size of this Atlantic Ocean is increasing. Means this older crust is consumed somewhere. Where? This subduction zone. It is called as subduction zone or Benioff zone. ठीक है, वो Benioff zone नहीं लिखा तो भी चलता है, ठीक है, that is optional technical word, but subduction zone, remember that. Now what happens here? The heavier oceanic plate is moving, or oceanic crust is going inside below the continental plate here. Convergence, continental oceanic plate convergence is happening, and when it is reaching up to certain depths, temperature is increasing. Okay, temperature increasing means this crust is getting melt here, and that melted magma is getting added into this cycle. This is how the cycle is continuing there. Okay.
Due to convection current, it will be continuous.
Many a times what happens is there is huge magma created because of subduction. Huge magma. And that magma tries to move in the upward direction because it is having gas. It is having water vapors with it. And it tries to suddenly come upward. Here. What happens then? यहाँ पे क्या तैयार हो जाते हैं फिर? Folded mountains. Rockies and Andes are formed like this only. Rockies and Andes are formed like this only. ठीक है? Is this clear now? इतना ही समझना है हमें sea floor spreading में. Okay.
So, I have one doubt from climatology actually. Can I ask you? Or should I wait for the session to end?
No, you can ask, but we are going to further have interaction for climatology separately. But if it is related to preparation, you can ask.
Yes, sir. Sir, actually, I was reading the NCERT part and even GS-Prelims, but I am not able to figure out like when the air mass will be like warm and dry, or warm and cold, or the air mass will be cold and dry, or cold or warm. Like I am not able to classify that.
ठीक है. Yes, simply remember that those air masses which originate in the tropical region, they will be warm. Okay, those originating in the subpolar region, they will be cold. First thing. Second thing, you should remember that when the air mass is being formed over the continental part, then it will be dry because it is acquiring those property there. Okay? Air mass acquires the property where it is formed. Okay, so if it is being formed over the continent, then it will be dry. If it is being formed over the ocean, then it will have moisture. But when? Tropical only. Moisture कहाँ पे होगा? Warm surface होगा तो. Where will be warm surface? Over the tropics. ठीक है, तो that will be warm maritime. ठीक है, तो वो आपको ये ऐसे क्लासीफाई करने आना चाहिए.
Sir, when will it be warm, sir? Can you repeat? When will it be warm?
Sorry, I'm not.
Can you repeat when will it be warm? Okay.
Warm. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Air masses, when they are formed within the tropics. When I say within the tropics, up to 23.5. Okay, or even up to 30 degree north and 30 degree south. ठीक है. And we know that ITCZ shifts north and south according to seasons. And therefore it reaches up to 50 degree also. ठीक है, जैसे नॉर्थ में शिफ्ट हो गया तो it reaches, warm air masses reaches up to 50 degree north. It depends on the seasonal times also, no? But subpolar, they are cold. Recently there is blizzard in US. Are you following current affairs?
It's a snow bomb.
Bomb cyclone.
Bomb cyclone, sir.
If you are following, bomb cyclone is formed along the northeastern part of US. Basically it is result of mixing of cold air mass from the north and warm air mass over the ocean there. ठीक है, Atlantic Ocean. Why it is warm? Because there is warm ocean current. ठीक है, Gulf Stream is flowing from there. So because of that, the warm maritime and cold continental, ठीक है, from Canada, the cold continental air mass is mixing with this warm maritime. And there is snowfall, continuously snowfall is there, and this is being for long time. ठीक है, तो उसको blizzards बोलते हैं, blizzards. Temperate cyclone is being formed.
So due to cold waves and hot waves in ocean region will mix this type of temperature also will come also.
No, we will not call this a wave. ठीक है, cold air mass and warm air mass is different. Cold wave we will call it as when significant drop in temperature happens below average temperatures, below certain. ठीक है, जैसे इंडिया में IMD फॉलो करता है 4.5 डिग्री सेल्सियस बिलो नॉर्मल टेम्परेचर. ठीक है, एवरेज टेम्परेचर, दैट विल बी कोल्ड वेव डिक्लेयर्ड. ठीक है, सो दैट इज द डिफरेंस. नाउ वी हैव अंडरस्टूड दिस.
Reptiles has been reached 4 degree, that blood has been really cold, so it will be fall also. More than thousands of species has been. It will not dead, sir, but it will not. There is no any movement on that reptiles.
Yes. Now let me also give some inputs here, that whenever we are approaching geography questions or MCQs, there will be some kind of application of knowledge. There will not be direct question. Yesterday we discussed how UPSC was asking question. Okay, and we also here tried to frame questions which will test your understanding, test your knowledge, clarity of knowledge. Okay, like one of the student was asking कि factual information कैसे याद रखना है. आप बहुत बार रिवाइज करिए. You revise many times, there will be clarity of knowledge. The more clarity of knowledge you have, more easily you will eliminate and confidently mark correct answer. This is the quality of, we can say, those aspirants who clear this examination. ठीक है? Yes. Anything else?
Sir?
Yes.
So if you please can tell how to revise effectively, because sir, I face challenge while revising because we read so much and we fail to revise. And please, and in this geography, especially the collecting of factual knowledge of regarding map and specific places, it's like very big task, sir, for now. You can please tell how to revise.
ठीक है, तो 125 डेज बाकी है हमारे। जैसे वो चड्डे मूवी में क्या शाहरुख खान बोलते हैं 70 मिनट है आपके पास, ऐसे वो डायलॉग, तो आपके पास 125 डेज है। नाउ वी हैव टू प्लान फॉर दिस। ओके, सो हाउ वी आर प्लानिंग, फर्स्ट फ्यू डेज ये टेस्ट सीरीज का आपका जो प्लान हो रहा है उसको फॉलो करिए। Whatever the plan is there, the sources are given, those NCRTs, those reference books, you try to revise them. Simultaneously, current affairs tests are there, you revise the monthly booklets or daily notes that you are making from the current affairs. Okay, so talking about revision, what we'll do here is for daily time, you dedicate 1 hour for revision. Okay, many times you are reading new things. Okay, many times you are reading new things, and it is very difficult to remember the new things when you are reading only once. Okay, that's why we are saying revision is important. Now, which book requires more revision? That is also important, no? So 6 to 10 standard will not require revisions. Try to remember this. ठीक है, और किया भी revision तो 10 मिनट में एक NCERT हो जाता है। Just briefly you follow those boxes. Let me tell you what you have to revise there. Very very important. एक दो क्वेश्चन हमने वो बॉक्सेस से ही पूछा है। यूपीएससी भी ऐसे ही बॉक्सेस से क्वेश्चन पूछता है एनसीईआरटी के। 6, 7, 8 standard. Good knowledge is mentioned, information mentioned in some boxes in those chapters. Relevant knowledge, we can say, information. So you revise that, okay, from those NCERTs. And the important NCERTs that require revision, 11th and 12th standard NCERT, and that too more revisions to 11th standard physical geography, both world physical, India physical. Now within those books also, just now I was talking about that landforms chapter, because factual information, no, other chapters concepts are there, like first, second, third concepts are there, no, so it is very easily understood. आपको एक बार P waves, S waves समझ में आया कि ये compressional waves है, ये transverse waves है, you will always remember that. You learn that in graduation or schooling itself, है ना? So it is not difficult to remember, but what is difficult to remember? The names of these landforms, है ना? So that's why those chapters should be revised again and again. It is better if you make those notes. Just now I told you कैसे नोट्स बनाना है। ये 12th चैप्टर का ह्यूमन इकोनॉमिक ज्योग्राफी, इट इज़ फाइन, ठीक है, हो जाता है जल्दी। यू शुड रिमेंबर दैट ह्यूमन एंड इकोनॉमिक ज्योग्राफी हैज़ बीन मेड इम्पॉर्टेंट पार्ट ऑफ योर मेंस ज्योग्राफी सिलेबस। व्हाट इज सिलेबस ऑफ human, let's say GS1 paper geography part? Largely it is human geography, resources, industries, all these things. UPSC asks questions from those things. Only one question from physical geography. Largely they focus on climatology and oceanography. But in prelims examination they focus on physical geography also. ठीक है, और मैपिंग एस्पेक्ट। तो इस तरीके से आपको डिफरेंस पता होना चाहिए किस पे क्या फोकस करना है, right? So that's why you can give less important comparatively, I am saying, for revisions. And you daily dedicate 1 hour for revision. कुछ भी हो जाए, इवनिंग हो गया तो बाकी सारा चीज रख देना है, and whatever you have read in the previous week you revise that. Okay, so in that manner you can further. Also you should remember that revision time, the more revisions you are giving, the revision time should decrease, it should reduce, otherwise there is no meaning to revision. ठीक है, तो ये आपको बहुत ही क्लियर पता होना चाहिए कि आपको 125 डेज में एंड तक आप जब रिवीजन करते हैं तो एक दिन पहले, एग्जाम से पहले आपका मेन सारा रिसोर्स रिवाइज होके होना चाहिए, एक दिन में सारे सब्जेक्ट्स का। इस तरीके से आपको टाइम रिड्यूस करते जाना है।
There is one more thing I would like to take up from climatology. Like sometimes there is mention like subpolar highs or subpolar lows or like subtemperate or tundra and all. So I'm not able to figure out how to coincide, like how to relate these with both of them, like tundra and subpolar lows, like how to.
Nothing is difficult. See, from equator to polar region, vegetation goes on changing. ठीक है, तो उसके हिसाब से रिमेंबर करना है. और उसके see, in geography everything is related. Everything is related. So vegetation is related to climate. Vegetation is related to soil type. Okay, in climate, temperature, rainfall. तो ऐसे याद रख सकते हैं ना, राइट. सो तैगा, तो एनसीईआरटी में दिया हुआ एक बॉक्स लिखा है तैगा इन रशियन मीन्स प्रिस्टीन अनडिस्टर्ब. ठीक है, तो ऐसा कुछ लिखा हुआ है, तो उसके हिसाब से आप एक लॉजिक लगा के याद रखिए ना. तैगा रशियन वर्ड है, सो इट इज इन टेम्परेट कोनिफेरस फॉरेस्ट. ओके, कोनिफेरस फॉरेस्ट, sufficient moisture is available and this coniferous forest is evergreen forest, but there is less biodiversity. In NCERT we learn from equator to pole biodiversity in the vegetation goes on decreasing. That means similar species will be found in the higher latitudes. Similar, one single species n number of we can say trees. तो ये कोनिफरस ट्रीज वहाँ पे मिलेगा आपको टैगा में. और उसके बियॉन्ड हम टुंड्रा और लैटिट्यूड के आगे जाते हैं तो वहाँ पे मॉसेस एंड लाइचन्स, बिकॉज लेस एक्सपोजर टू सनलाइट. रिलेट करना है, ठीक है, कैसे है ये फैक्टर्स.
Sir, if this is not too much to ask, at this moment, can you please diagrammatically explain this?
Which one you are saying?
Sir, this only, like polar and tundra regions and all.
ठीक है, ये मैं आपको बता देता हूँ, बट यस लेट मी अगेन टेल यू कि ये कहाँ पर दिया हुआ है. दिस इज गिवन इन दैट जीसी लियोंग बुक. द सेकंड हाफ ऑफ जीसी लियोंग बुक रिलेट्स टू दिस ओनली. ठीक है, यस. सो सपोज दिस इज वी आर कॉलिंग एज इक्वेटर, तो उसके हिसाब से मैं आपको ड्रॉ करके दिखाता हूँ. Okay, so at equator or near equator, which type of forest? Evergreen and semi-evergreen. Okay, evergreen and semi-evergreen. So different varieties of trees are found there. So high biodiversity. ठीक है, so high sunlight, high temperature, high rainfall also. This is the characteristic. Then as we move towards 23.5, within the tropics or subtropical region, in some part monsoon type of forest, in some parts you will find moist and dry deciduous. Tropical and subtropical. Okay, so depending upon rainfall, less rainfall, dry deciduous, comparatively more rainfall, moist deciduous or monsoon type rainfall, forest we can say. If there is mountain in the higher latitude, higher altitude in the mountain, there is mountain forest. Accordingly, the forest type changes according to altitude in the mountains. But talking about latitudes, somewhere here near 40 degree, 50 degree in Mediterranean Ocean, you will find Mediterranean type of vegetation. ठीक है, मेडिटेरेनियन यूनिक क्लाइमेट, नो, विंटर ड्राई, समर वेट, winter wet and summer dry, opposite, I am sorry. Okay, so during winter there is rainfall, winter rainfall. This is unique to Mediterranean, and that's why it is very famous for citrus fruit cultivation. Mediterranean, it is also called as vineyard of the world. Orchards or all these are found there in the Mediterranean region. Okay, because of unique climate is supporting them. Then further moving to the 60 to 70, you will find taiga, and from 75-80 degree you will find tundra. Depending upon the coldness, exposure, exposure to the sunlight, right? So this is.
Understood, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay, yes. The difference between deep focus and shallow focus earthquake, one of the student is asking. So what is the difference? Simply you should remember that whenever there is convergent plate margins, convergent, it can be continent, continent, ocean, continent, ocean, ocean. There the deep focus earthquakes are found. Deep focus means the focus of the earthquake can be as deep as 700 kilometers from the surface of the earth. They are found when there is convergent plate boundaries, because one plate is moving inside the other. Okay, so origin of the earthquake or focus of the earthquake can be as deep as 700, 800 kilometer. But the shallow focus earthquake, they are up to 70, 80, 100 or maximum 200 kilometer depth, and they are largely found when there is divergent plate boundary, mid-oceanic region. है ना, mid-oceanic region. So there we find the shallow focus earthquake.
Sir, question number
19.
19.
Tsunami waves are not noticed by the ships far out at sea. Tsunami waves have high amplitude and comparatively low wavelength. See, you should remember that tsunami waves are generated when the epicenter of the earthquake is on the ocean floor. Epicenter is the point immediately above the focus. ठीक है, तो epicenter when it is on the ocean floor, there are chances of tsunami waves generation. जैसे अभी जो volcanic eruption हुआ था टोंगा आइलैंड के पास में, right? So because of that there were tsunami waves generated, right? So yes, tsunami waves can be generated because of volcanic eruption, earthquakes also, even meteorite impact or underwater landslides. These are the causes. Now tsunami waves deep inside, suppose this is continent, this is ocean on this side, okay, and far deep inside, suppose the tsunami wave, suppose earthquake has happened here, epicenter, and the waves are generated here. Okay, so what happens is these waves deep inside are having very low amplitude, and their amplitude goes on increasing when they reach near the earth coastal surface. This is how tsunami waves progress from deep oceans to the coastal area. In deep oceans, their amplitude, the amplitude you can see, this is the amplitude. ठीक है, so amplitude is very less. So suppose there is one ship here and one ship is here. Which ship will understand there is tsunami wave? Suppose one ship is here near coastal area, तो वो तो पूरा ऊपर नीचे कर देगा ना, बट यहाँ पे उसको recognize ही नहीं हो रहा है, because already there are deep sea waves. Already there are deep sea waves. There can be stormy weather. Okay, so deep sea waves basically already they have low amplitude, and the tsunami waves also when moving deep sea there is low amplitude and long wavelength. That's why the second statement we framed in that manner कि वो थोड़ा सा आपको confuse करे. Now you understood this?
Wavelength is very large and the amplitude is very less.
Yes, amplitude is less. Deep, यहाँ पे क्या होता है? Wavelength shortens, amplitude increases. Okay, and then what happens here is the water from the coastal area is moving or receding inside, and suddenly this large wave splashes like this at the coastal area. That's why tsunami waves are dangerous.
So it means that short wave is equal to high amplitude and vice versa.
See, when we say long wave, that is long wavelength. Just you can remember like this, no? Short waves, short wavelength. ठीक है? Wavelength and we can say frequency, they have inverse relations. Wavelength and frequency, they have inverse relations. You should just remember this basics. Don't worry about the other things. एनीथिंग एल्स? और कोई क्वेश्चन में आपको डाउट है?
Sir, there is one generic question. Do we need to study from Majid Hussain for prelims? Is it necessary?
नहीं.
No.
No.
Sure. Thank you.
ठीक है. बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट्स या पता नहीं, आई डोंट नो हु इज लेट्स से गिविंग दैट रिसोर्स. दिस इज प्योरली फॉर ऑप्शनल सब्जेक्ट, ज्योग्राफी ऑप्शनल सब्जेक्ट, प्योरली. ठीक है, नहीं ज़रूरत है आपको माजिद हुसैन पढ़ने के लिए. दैट इज़ वेरी एग्जॉस्टिव. Okay. Yes, anything else? Yes, it is very, I would like to appreciate your response that you are preparing for this MCQs and you are attempting these MCQs. You continue this up to last test. Okay, and prepare, revise and then give test. Don't worry about the score. Okay, अभी तो start है. ठीक है, एंड में आपको स्कोर जो है मैटर करेगा. अभी जस्ट ट्राई टू लुक इनटू योर प्रिपरेशन लेवल्स, कहाँ पे गलत हो रहा है, ट्राई टू मेक ओवर योर मिस्टेक्स. ठीक है, तो वहाँ पे आप फोकस करिए. अभी न्यू एनसीईआरटीज चलेगा और ओनली ओल्ड चलेगा. ठीक है, नो प्रॉब्लम. सी देयर इज़ नथिंग टू वरी अबाउट. ठीक है, ज़्यादा डिफरेंस नहीं है. डोंट वरी. Okay, anything else? Or else we can stop.
Thank you, sir.
Fine then. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.